Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. This is James in Nashville, and in this video I want to go over something about in the timeline. And I just did a video called the timeline question, and I didn't go into details like detail it out, the timeline. I just wanted to give those few that are confused a general area of when everything is happening. According to the showrunners, according to the show, the Walking Dead main show is around 12 years in, World Beyond is around 10 years in, and Fear the Walking Dead is around 4 years in. So a lot of people were asking, hey, well, how did Morgan and Dwight get over there to Fear if they were on The Walking Dead and Fear is only 4 years in and stuff like that? A lot of people were confused, so I'm going to clear that up in this video. And a lot of you guys already know. And, you know, like myself, I kind of caught myself saying, what, these people didn't pay attention? I mean, come on. But you can't really say that, and I hope no one does in the comments says stuff like that to people, because hey, I watch this all the time. I rewatch it. I talk with you guys about it every single day. But a lot of people, you know, hey, they're watching the show, the kids did something, got into something, you know, a phone call happened, they were having to cook food for the family the time the show was on, the only time they had to watch it, so they couldn't pay that close of attention. You know, sometimes a little word will flash up on the screen that says 2 years later or 12 years ago or something like that. And if you just look away for a minute, you didn't see that, then you may not even know that. So I have to watch myself, and I hope you do too as well, as far as when you talk to someone that says, hey, I don't know about that. Can you explain it to me? Because hey, not everybody watches the show the same, especially with TV these days, just all crazy with AMC Plus and everything, and the shows, nobody watches it at the same time anymore. So many people think each season is a year, and a lot of that is aimed at the actors, because Carl Chandler Riggs aged one whole year every season. Why? Because in real life, one whole year went by, but in the show, sometimes just a few weeks went by or a few months went by. So by the time the two shows lined up, Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead, at the end of season 8, when the Savior battle was over, the all-out war, the war with Negan, when that was over, Morgan, he had been, you know, messed up mentally back and forth. He went to the junkyard. Jadis had become Anne and joined Alexandria group, and the junkyard was empty because all her people had been killed. Morgan went to the junkyard to have solitude. Several people came and talked to Morgan, and Rick also came, and that was the one and only time Rick Grimes was in Fear the Walking Dead, because the very first episode of season 4, but those characters were in Fear the Walking Dead even though they were still in Alexandria. That little scene at the junkyard with Morgan and Rick was at the very first of the first episode of season 4 of Fear. So I remember when all of this took place, when the two shows lined up, they had a big thing, the worlds collide, Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead. And they did, they collided for just a moment, because Morgan and Dwight crossed over. And I remember when this happened, it was the worlds collide, Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead. It was called Survival Sunday, and they even had it at the theater, and I went to watch it. The last episode of season 8 of The Walking Dead and the first episode of season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, back to back. And they gave away free little posters there when you bought a ticket, so that's pretty cool. But the reason it happened, the way it happened, is The Walking Dead main show was just 3-ish something years in, and Fear the Walking Dead was 3-ish years in. The two shows, as far as the timelines, lined up perfectly, and Morgan decides to leave Alexandria and that area, and he walks toward Texas. Dwight is pushed out by Daryl, and Dwight ends up chasing Sherry's notes all the way to Texas. So that's how they get to Fear the Walking Dead at that point. But then you're like, then what happened? Well, then The Walking Dead jumped 1.5 years ahead. Fear the Walking Dead did not. Rick has the bridge camp. They're working on the bridge with the Savior group and stuff. And Rick is trying to build something, trying to put something together, bring all the communities together. And the main thing is they're building that bridge to connect the communities. But of course, then the bridge blows up, and we know why, and we know by who, and we know what happened. He went off on a helicopter, and then they jumped 6 years. So that's 7.5 years, huge jump there in season 9 that Fear the Walking Dead did not ever take. Fear the Walking Dead did not ever jump that far ahead at any point. And that is how The Walking Dead is so far ahead, 12 years in, where Fear is still around the 4-year mark. Will Fear the Walking Dead ever jump up and get near The Walking Dead timeline, the movie's timeline? I'm sure they will. I'm sure they have some type of plan that's going to tie the shows together more than they have been even, as far as the bigger universe goes. So again, I know you may be going by the actor's age like Carl and thinking every season is a year, and that's just a huge misconception by viewers of the show, a lot of viewers, that they just think, oh, well, Carl or Judith, they've changed that actress a few times. I think they had maybe a 4-year-old Judith playing a Judith that should have probably just been 1 according to the timeline or less. You know, they just really screw it up with things like that and the perception of the viewer. Chandler Riggs and Carl being the worst case scenario of that. And really, it would have been hard to remedy that. They would have had to recast Carl pretty much every season to keep the timeline and the age of the character in check. So I totally understand that some of you have the question about the timeline and how the shows line up and how they lined up in the past and how they may in the future and all that kind of stuff, because AMC, The Walking Dead, yeah, they make it so confusing. So I don't blame you at all. And don't hesitate. Ask a question down in the comments. If you're confused about anything at all on any video, especially this one, throw it down in the comments. And if it's not me, there's so many other fans that are a part of this channel that sometimes they answer before I do. And sometimes I might leave a comment blank just because I think someone else could maybe answer it better and hope they do. And if they don't after about a day, I'll usually try to come back in and answer stuff the best I can. Here's a quick little piece from a comicbook.com article. According to dates revealed in the season 10 finale of The Walking Dead, the flagship series is now set the furthest out in the timeline. Season 11 is 12 years post-outbreak, putting the final season in 2022, a whopping 9 years after season 6 of Fear. It's still early in the apocalypse for Alicia Clark and the other Texas survivors who are now living through a second apocalyptic event that just might be felt beyond the Lone Star State. And of course, time after time after time in World Beyond, we heard it was 10 years in, 10 years in. But also something to think about, and we can discuss more in the comments, is if Fear the Walking Dead is around the 4-year mark, and The World Beyond is 10 years in, and The Walking Dead story 12 years in those two stories, we have not seen any of the Fear people in the future. In The World Beyond story, no Fear people. And The Walking Dead, so far as since they've jumped ahead, we haven't seen Morgan return to Alexandria. We haven't seen Alicia anywhere. So as far as we know, 12 years in, 9 more years after what we're seeing right now in Fear, there still hasn't been any connection. For 9 years, something takes place in the Fear group that disconnects them from the story we know right now. The future story, the Walking Dead story, the World Beyond story. But I'm definitely going to end this video right here. I feel like I'm confusing people maybe more than helping them, but definitely let me know down in the comments any questions you have, and you know I'll join you there. This is James in Nashville. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more dead stuff.